still need to work a lot in this field in order to overcome the mistakes made by these machines. Because if a machine makes a mistake, we don't know who should be held responsible for it, as Sir explained it very well. He also told us how AI and data science go hand in hand. AI and data science have a broad scope for most of the professions. Now, let's begin with our final session for today, which is on career in management and entrepreneurship by Mr. Tarun Anand, sir. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, Tithi and Drishti.
Sure, ma'am. Let's begin with our fourth and final event of the day, that is career in management and entrepreneurship. As Winston Churchill said, success is not final and failure is not fate. It is the courage to continue that counts. Our nation needs youngsters with such conviction. One such extremely successful entrepreneur is among us. So let's welcome Mr. Tarun Anand, who is serial entrepreneur, former CMD, Thomson Reuters, South Asia. He has co-founded Universal Business School, along with two outstanding management professionals and backed by 60 global CEOs and business leaders. Prior to that, he served as chairman and managing director at Thomson Reuters, South Asia. Now, Mr. Tarun Anand will enlighten us on the topic management and entrepreneurship. So, Drishti, will you please give us all a brief about this session? Absolutely. A career in management offers status, interesting work, and the satisfaction of working closely with other people. People are considered the most important resource in organizations. While successful entrepreneurs are generally well trained and qualified in their field, specific education qualifications can vary. This session will deal with all of the above concepts. मैनेजमेंट से जुड़े लोगों को किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट माना जाता है, तो आज तरुण आनंद सर इसी टॉपिक पर बात करेंगे. Samishta ma'am will join us for the short review of the session afterwards, and she will forward the questions from the chat box to our esteemed speaker. Students and parents are requested to forward the questions to Samishta ma'am through chat box.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Anand, sir.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to all of you. I would like to request all the parents and all the students to join me in welcoming our renowned speaker today.
Sir, you can please continue from here, Tarun, sir.
Great. Can I share a presentation? Can you give me sharing rights?
Yeah, the rights already with you. You can start.
No, it seems to say only one participant can share at a time. It's saying.
You can start. The right already given to you.
No, the option was existing. Now it's not there.
You have to click on share screen, sir.
I'm trying that. That option is not. It's grayed out. You need to give me access. It's not applicable.
Already co-host, and I think you are trying with the same.
No, not possible. Should I log in? Log out and log in?
No, you don't need to do that. We'll just take your co-host rights and then give it back again to you.
Okay.
That should do the trick.
Yeah, it's been disabled. Nope, it still pulls out. Only one participant can share at a time.
Nobody's sharing screen, sir.
I know.
There must be some technical glitch right now with us.
I don't know. I tried doing share screen.
Okay, now it's coming. Now it's coming. Okay, great. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, now we can see it.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I'd like to just take you through a few thoughts I had on what is the essence of a management career, but I'll start with myself. You know, like many of you in your 12th standard, I was very clear from the very outset that I used to go in these local trains in Bombay, and I used to see these guys in Mercedes Benz. And I was like, yaar, ye kaun hai? Who's this guy in a Mercedes Benz? And I used to find that someone said, must be an entrepreneur or must be a CEO of a company. So that moment I said, even I want to become a CEO, right? Because I couldn't at that point think of entrepreneurship. At that point, I just said, I'll want to do this. Sounds like a great, promising career, seems like successful people. So I picked that. So to do that, my friend said, you got to first get the basics of if you want to be a businessman or you want to get into the corporate world and be a corporate career, you need to understand business basics, right? If you can't just jump into something without knowing ABCD about it. So I said, okay, what do I need to do? They said, do an BBA, right? Do a BBA, which is a business management basics. Your foundations will be there. And then they said, it'll be great if you become a master. So you do a MBA after that. So do a BBA, which is foundational, and then go into specialization, deeper domain knowledge in the MBA field. I said, fantastic. I got into SPJN Institute of Management after doing my undergraduate. And when we were in our final year, after we had graduated, my boss, my dean said, if you're from SPJN, which is in the top 5 business schools in the country today, which one of you would like to become and will become a CEO of an Indian company in 10 years' time? Now, I was a very ambitious young guy, like many of you, and I said, I'll become a CEO in 10 years' time. Challenge, I said, yes, challenge accepted. 10 years pass. Guess what? I failed. I did not become a CEO of an Indian company in 10 years' time. But friends, I was very fortunate with the grace of God to have become a CEO of a global company in 12 years' time. I hope chalega. I was running a $2 billion business spread over 136 countries, got to work in 55 different countries around the world, did business in pretty much I worked in London for 3 years, New York for 2 years, Hong Kong for a couple of years, and, did business with the Japanese, the Chinese, the Aussies, the Kiwis, I'm sure Aussies and Kiwis are the Australians and New Zealand, from Southeast Asia, the Singaporeans, all the way to Israelis, the Russians, every country in Europe, whether it's the Dutch, the Germans, the French, the Spanish, the Italians, the Swiss, the Brits, the Irish, go down to South Africa, Egyptians, go down to America, Canadians, and even the South American continent, which became my favorite. So I did business with the Argentinians, the Brazilians, and the Mexicans. Now, why am I telling you this? It was an amazing experience, going to all of these parts of the world. And why did I get that kind? Why did I taste that success? Right? I'm going to start by showing you what does a global manager experience, right? So very quickly, today, if you're someone in the world of business, right, you are obviously facing the pandemic, which has changed everything, right? Everything has changed dramatically. All the assumptions of business have changed. Business has disappeared. Many businesses have shut down, unfortunately. So that's the reality. Imagine you're a businessman or a person in a company. You've got to face this, right? You've got to face this world which is uncertain. And the pandemic, COVID-19, is just a trailer to what's going to come in terms of the environment. Climate change is hitting all of you and us all over the world, whether it's the forest fires in California or Australia, where 1 million species were finished. There have been, a couple of cyclones, one which hit the Bengal coast and one which hit the Maharashtra coast recently. So there's going to be a lot more of this environment. And these cannot be predicted, right? Because nature is unpredictable. Of course, one thing we know, we need to reduce our carbon footprint, to reduce the amount of the greenhouse gases that we are producing, which is heating up the overall temperature, and that's why oceans are rising and all these things are happening. So we got to stop that, right? But that's what a manager faces. Then he faces geopolitics. What are geopolitics? Some of you might know when Brexit happened, Britain exited from the European Union. The entire Britain was part of the European Union. Suddenly they voted against it. they split up. Imagine you have a business which is based in England, where you're doing business with Europe. What does you as a manager go through, right? Or if you're in trade, you're, like some of your parents might be, into export import. So what happens when America and China, there's sanctions, trade wars. So this is the environment that you as a business manager will go. Then you have the oil. You had the Saudis with the sanctions with the Russians, and the oil prices went through the roof, right? Then you have issues in the world, which is the Me Too movement, gender equality, which is very, very important in the Western world, and now even more important in countries like India. Because of the pandemic, people are working from home. And then you have, as I was hearing, digital transformation. Every business is going to be digitally transformed. And AI, machine learning, deep learning, this is, as you rightly said, the earlier speaker said, it's going to have an impact on every process in the business. So if you do not change from a digital perspective, and then with COVID, you had entire supply chains disrupted, right? So this is the world of the manager tomorrow, right? It seems challenging. It does seem challenging, but how do companies still do amazingly well? How do they deal with these challenges? How do entrepreneurs, make these are, whenever there's a challenge, remember there's an opportunity. Right? If someone needs to fix the challenge, it comes with an opportunity on the other hand. So you need to be able to say, okay, challenges are going to be there. I want to be an entrepreneur, or I want to be an intrapreneur, which is an entrepreneur within a company, so that I can find innovative solutions to impact this entire world that we are facing, right? I'm going to give you a quick example of myself, right? I was based in London. My boss was a Britisher called Mark Robson. We had few Brits, four Brits, couple of French guys, German, a Chinese, a Japanese, an Aussie, and Brazilian, a couple of Americans, and me, Indian, part of our global management team. We used to meet every quarter. In this quarter, we used to discuss, the acquisition of a company in, let's say, Germany. This was in Frankfurt, Germany. So this was a $25 million acquisition, right? We had to acquire, we were a British company acquiring a German company. So we said, before we do the acquisition, my boss said, you know what, why don't we do due diligence? Now, some of you might ask, what is this concept called due diligence? Due diligence is like your father, right? When he goes and buys a car for the family, he looks at the space in the car. He looks at the color of the car, the kind of beautiful features it has, whether it's got the amount of fuel it consumes. So he looks at all these 20 things. Then he says, for my budget, this is the right car. Right? Similarly, when one company buys another company, they look at due diligence, right? They need to go and understand deeply the balance sheet, the products that the company offers, the technology that the company offers, the manufacturing facilities, the people at the heart of the business, the leadership teams, the prospects in the market, and so on and so forth. So it's a detailed analysis. So my boss said, this is a great idea to acquire this German company, but let's do due diligence. So everybody agreed. My boss said, who would like to do the due diligence? My good friend Heiko Cassens, he's a German from Dusseldorf, Germany. He said, I will like to do the due diligence. I understand German markets. I would like to take this opportunity. My boss, Mark, said, okay, Heiko, how long will you take? He said, 2 months. We got to do a lot of detailed analysis and market analysis and evaluation and blah, blah, blah. So Mark said, okay. But my good friend, my good American friend, Michael McCockle, he put up his hand. Now he's a true-blooded American. The Americans always like to get under the skin of the Germans. So he said, I'd like to do the due diligence, but I'll do it in 1 month. So the German got very offended. He said, no, it requires a lot of analysis, this, that, and the other. And the Americans like, no, fast, we got to move fast. So they were having this disagreement and arguing with each other. I put up my hand. Now my name is Tarun Anand, but I was called Tarun. Right? In London, they called me Tarun. When I moved to New York, they called me Tarun. And then when I moved to Hong Kong, I can't tell you what the Chinese did to my name. They messed it up. So Tarun, what do you say? I said, Mark, I'd like to do the due diligence. How long will you take, Tarun? I said, 2 weeks. So the German and the American who were arguing between 2 months and 1 month They pounced onto me. They said, you don't know anything about global markets. You're going to mess up this deal. No. They're just shouting at me. And I was like, oh, okay. My boss came in between and said, no, Tarun, you do the due diligence. Great. I got onto a plane, flew the very next day in Frankfurt, worked like I've never worked before. 14 days, I worked for 16 hours a day. But I gave the report to my boss. My boss opened the report. He was looking at it and he's like, you know what? There is a huge mistake in it. I said, Gayi bhains pani mein. I'm going to get fired. Guess what? He went on to complete the agreement, the report. And he said, no, but it's got enough for us to take it to the next level of due diligence, which is financial closure and non-disclosure agreements. I was amazed. I was like, wow, I cracked it. I beat the Germans, Americans. I forgot about that. 6 months later, my boss gives me a call and said, Tarun, let's have dinner tonight. I said, sure. So I fly because I was based in London. He was in New York. I flew to New York, showered at John F. Kennedy Airport, got to the dinner at 7 p.m. At 7 p.m., he opens a bottle of champagne and he says, congratulations, Tarun, you're the new global CEO of the treasury business. I was like, wow, laddu phoot rahe the. I was so unbelievable. I was just 32 years of age and suddenly I'm now the global CEO. I was like, why me? Why me? And he said, because you know how to smash the deadline. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, remember, if you hadn't put up your hand for a 2-week due diligence, which you completed on time and delivered it to me, we would have lost a $25 million asset, right? That's what we would have lost because our competitor, Bloomberg, had already put in a bid for buying the company. So that's what I'm looking for in a CEO, someone who can take a jump, a leap of faith. I know you had never done due diligence before. You managed to take that risk and beat the deadlines. My world changed, right? Non-stop. I was like, wow, this is the future, right? Suddenly I was elevated. And then my boss said, you got to move to New York from London. Now I was staying at Hyde Park. Gorgeous, Hyde Park is where Kensington Palace is, if any of you know about London. So I was like very thrilled in being in the best part of London on Bayswater Road. He said, no, you got to move to New York. And I'm like, I'm fine. No, I've sweetened the deal. I've booked a penthouse apartment for you in New York's Times Square with downtown New York, Hudson Bay flowing. You're in a penthouse. Only CEOs live in penthouses in New York's Times Square, right? I was just blown over, right? What I'm trying to say is your world will change. Once you get into the corporate world, you put in your effort, the return is 1,000-fold. And you can't even imagine, right? So then I moved to New York. I had an amazing career, was dealing with all the big banks, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Barclays. They were all my customers. And then I was moved to Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, friends, how did Hong Kong happen? Very interesting. My boss said, I said, I'd like to go and set up a new business in Asia. So my boss asked me, would you like to go to Tokyo? Because Tokyo, Japan is a huge market. I'm like, no, it's Disneyland with the death penalty, right? And so I did. He said, would you like to go to Australia, Sydney? I said, no. Firstly, time zone is crazy and they are very racist. And I want to stay away from these because I've done a lot of business with the Australians. So I said, no, I'm not going to Australia. He said, then where? Singapore. I said, no, Singapore is, I call Singapore Disneyland with a death penalty, right? It's a very regimented. And so I chose Hong Kong. So literally, you don't even need to decide. You are told where you say where you want to go. When success flows in your quarter, they ask you, right? They just tell you. And then he throws in a penthouse apartment in Hong Kong and he puts 2 swimming pools in it. I'm like, what do you need 2? I just need 1 swimming pool. No, in case you get, in case you need another alternative. So that's what it's a heated pool, just in case you on the winters want to swim. What I'm trying to tell you, friends, is it's unreal. Then I moved to India as chairman and managing director of Thomson Reuters. Again, they threw in a Lexus SUV. What I'm trying to say is when you crack the corporate code, the world becomes yours, right? They will throw the best things at you. So that's why I get excited when I talk about it. Now, remember what I told you earlier. The world around the business manager is very complex, changing. And that to me is where the opportunity lies. And this is what I call the butterfly effect. The flapping of the wings of a butterfly in the Atlantic Ocean can cause a storm in the Pacific Ocean, right? I'm sure you've done this in some part of your education. I hope you have. And that's exactly what we are facing, friends. We are under the butterfly effect. The flapping of the wings of a butterfly in the Atlantic, in Wuhan, a bat, right, in Wuhan has caused a pandemic around the world. Every country in the world is impacted. And so we realize that everything is connected. So how do you connect the dots? Now, I'd like to make it more interactive, if I may, because I don't want a one-way thing. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Even one or two answers would really help. So can you friends start? Let's play an imagination game, right? Let's say, what is success for you? Can someone just write, what would success mean to you, right? There is a dream career, there's personal success, and then there is success of, where you can touch and feel it. So can someone tell me, okay, Yash, I got a question. So while someone is writing, I'm going to answer. So be a little more specific, Rishi. What does that dream career mean? Can you spell it out? I'll give you an example. For me, a dream career was being a CEO of a large multinational. Being a doctor, fantastic. Yes, a successful doctor. These days, doctors have saved us from the pandemic. Some more answers while I'll answer Yash's. Yash, absolutely. An audit firm can do the due diligence, but they look at the financials. Audit firms are very good at looking at the balance sheet. We are talking of the real factors, right? Going in and checking out the technology, checking out the human aspects of a business. Audit firms don't do that, right? They can tell you strong balance sheet, good reserves, good profitability, good. What about the growth prospects? No chartered accountant can tell you growth prospects. They can look backward. They are bookkeepers who look backward to tell you how things were. They can't tell you the future. And that's what a business manager who's buying a business has to look at the future. Yes, the past can tell you certain things, but not everything. So yes, did I get some? Being a doctor, police, wow. Learn and explore, pediatrician, wow. For me, success, anything I want without even thinking about the budget. I love that. That's more like CEO talk. Success is following passion. Couldn't agree with you more. Founder of a company. So someone wants to be an entrepreneur. Love it. Another one, entrepreneur. Being a CA, fantastic. That's a nice professional career. Completely satisfied in my own life. Everything, right? So absolutely, right? Brilliant. A few CAs, being financially independent. You can be financially independent, have a happy life. Absolutely. So, we also thought about this. I've done this with many students around the country. And I won't have time because I want to leave it out for some questions. We'll give you 20, 30 minutes for questions. So I'm very quickly going to go through this. So working in multinationals was one of the desires, especially since you're here listening to a career in management. Then working for a multinational is what you would love to do, right? Working for a Deutsche Bank, working for a GE, working for a Japanese multinational like Toshiba or what have you, or working for Facebook, working for Google. Those are some of the dreams some of you might want. Some of you might say, I want to be right at the top, right? I want to become a CEO, whether of an Indian company or a domestic company or my own company, which is entrepreneurship. And some would say, I would want to have global opportunities, right? I want to be able to engage. So some of you might say that in terms of, dream career for you. And in this, there could be a long list, right? Police, a successful police officer going at the top of the police game, or a successful doctor is absolutely fine. I, unfortunately, am not qualified to talk about police or the medicine field because I'm not from that. I will only keep it to the management space, right? Where I have built my career on. So, of course, personal, you would like to have a healthy life. You would like to have fitness. All of us know now how fitness is so critical. Some of you did mention happiness comes from family, relationships. Some of you would love a large car, a fancy house. You said, you don't want to be able to ever think about money, so holidays abroad and so on and so forth, right? So this is what typically a good career should be able to give you a good life, right? So how do you achieve this? Some of you said you might be wanting to be in a top world class, work for Google, work for Facebook, work for Microsoft, work for LinkedIn, one of these world class companies. So what we tried to do was, remember the butterfly effect, cause and effect. How do we ensure that you get to that dream career? Best way to do that is, you know what? Get an international program, right? Get an international degree. If you want to work for a multinational, you need to think like a multinational person. So get a global degree, because all the multinationals around the world, they all have global degrees, right? Get foreign faculty who can do that for you. Get to meet CEOs of leadership companies like PepsiCo, Deloitte, PwC, Ernst & Young. Get these CEOs to come and talk to you, right? So that you learn from them. Get you an opportunity to study in a global, state place, right? So we have partnerships with 30 countries where students go and study all over Europe, all over Asia, and therefore they get that ability to work in an international location, ability to get finally placed in an international location. So that's what happens when you want to be in a MNC. This is what you want to do very quickly. You want a top salary, you got to start thinking like a CEO, right? So in the first few months of the program itself, every year you meet minimum 50 to 100 CEOs or CXOs, right? You should also become a CEO. So we have an opportunity where when you join the undergraduate program, you can become an executive. And in 3 years, you can become a CEO of a private limited company where you're hiring, you're firing, you're making product decisions, you're making financial decisions, you are making profits, you're making losses, you are actually signing the balance sheet. That's how you get equipped in the world of business. When you've done it, what you learn in the classroom, you're actually practicing it. So when you graduate from your undergraduate program, you go in as a CEO. Imagine you finished your BBA and you hand over, you go to a company and you say, I'm already a CEO. Every year we can create 3 CEOs. So that's a great opportunity. And you have opportunity to work in various clubs so that you get an opportunity to experience your leadership, because you want to be CEO, you got to practice your leadership skills, right? You wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? I'm going to give you my own story. When I started my first venture, honestly, I made a plan. You got to make a plan, right? The first thing is, once you have an idea, you got to make a plan. You got to write minimum of 20 to 100 pages. The more you write, the more you learn. So you got to write that. Then you got to showcase that plan. So if you are budding entrepreneurs in this group, which I'm talking to you, whatever idea you have, don't keep it in your head. Put it on paper. Write detailed, every aspect of the business. Then you will show it to your friends who you trust, your professors, your faculty, your family. And then they will say, this is not right, this is right, this won't work, this won't work. So you keep tweaking the plan till you are happy that it works, right? And then that's what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once you get confident about that plan, you then say, okay, I'm going to prototype, I'm going to go into the market and test the plan in the real market. Is someone buying or not buying, right? And all of this till now doesn't require any money or very little money, because people think, if I don't have money, I can't start. No, you have to go through the writing of the plan, vetting it, getting it, you being happy about the product, the proposition. You're solving a problem in the market that nobody else is, or doing it more cheaper or in a better fashion, right? That's what entrepreneurship is. Converting that innovative idea into a business plan is what makes it an entrepreneurial venture. Once you go about doing that, then you test it, you make a prototype, see whether people will buy, do research. That then gives you the confidence. And then you can even go to a bank and they will fund you, or you can go to private equity, venture capital funds. There's seed funding also available. There are many, many sources of funding. So, but first you have to be confident that the idea works, test it in the market, then go for funding, and then move on. So that's what we create those opportunities in a curated fashion, so you can build your value proposition on this front, right? You wanted global opportunities, right? Because that's what builds your intercultural capabilities, right? Know that the entire world is becoming smaller and smaller, and with technology and pandemic, Now, all of us are in the same boat, right? Actually, we are in the same storm, not in the same boat. And I'll explain that if you're interested. So we said, I'm going to answer some of these questions. So give me another 5 minutes and then I'll come to all your questions. So we said you should be having an opportunity to work, study abroad in various parts and visit various countries so that you can actually develop your intercultural curiosity, right? I'm going to run through this. Then we have a case placer just to tell you how we link. We do something, it's linked to activity, and that activity ends up in building your skill level. So for example, in the case blazer, you have 48 hours. We put you in a kind of 48 hours with another friend of yours, a classmate. Non-stop, you're solving cases, right? 10 to 15 cases you're solving. It's like a case relay. Now, why do we do that? Because I worked on Wall Street. In Wall Street, you're put under tremendous pressure. And so we want to curate that experience so that you come up with critical thinking skills, you come up with analytical skills, and you come up with working under pressure and working in teams. So you want to, it's all cause and effect, right? It all boils down to what you do that can build the skills that you can have. Next, don't be a BMW, right? Don't ever. I'm sure many of you know people who are always cribbing around you, right? They're always cribbing around you, saying this is not right, that is not right. I don't like the school, the college, the professor, something is wrong. Stay away from these people. And if it's one of you, stay away from this notion of just being critical, right? We have, one concept I call don't be a BMW. Don't ever get into bitching, moaning, blaming, and wailing, right? These are the negative concepts. If you do this, believe you me, you're attracting all the negativity in the world. And whether you want to be a successful corporate career or you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to get out of this blaming, moaning, and wailing business, right? Because if you are surely never going to get a BMW, right? Which I'm sure is a car all of you fancy. So stop this bitching, moaning, and wailing. Take negativity out of your life, and believe you me, you will see a different world. It's a world of possibilities, right? Then you've got to pitch, right? Whether you start a business or you go into the corporate world, communication is very, very important. And my life changed. There is a concept called having an elevator pitch. Tomorrow, when you go into the world of business, you need to have something which you talk about yourself, which is so amazing. And it shouldn't be, people ask you, tell me something about yourself, right? And you shouldn't say, I grew up in the city. So what? My father is a businessman, my mother is a housewife, or my father is an employee. I have 2 brothers, I have one sister. Nobody's interested in all of this. We are interested in you, right? You say a great pitch, your life can change. I had that opportunity once when I was with Mr. Ratan Tata. My life changed in an instant, right? So you've not got to have something which you say which is awesome about you. And you've got to create it. You would create a story around you. And that's what opens doors. And as a business person, you've got to open doors every day. And that's what makes you successful, right? So these are some of the things I'm going to quickly run through. Party hard, and just going to quickly this is my last slide. So what we have, and then we'll open it up to questions. We very clearly say that you've got an option to do a 3-year business administration course. You can do a 4-year. These are all global courses with Cardiff Met University. Cardiff Met is a 150-year-old university based out of Wales in England, in United Kingdom. So it's the #1 modern university in the UK where we've tied up with. You can get a global BBA degree for 3 years. You can get a global BBA plus MBA degree in 4 years, or you can get a BA honors if you're interested in, let's say, economics, or you're interested in liberal arts like psychology. You can pursue that along with your business management. So it's kind of a combined degree where you get an opportunity to do both. And so that's what we wanted to end with. So what are the opportunities that you have? And then I'll open it up to questions. Of course, we talked about entrepreneurship. If you do a business degree, you can do entrepreneurship. If you're a person who works very well with people, you can get into this fantastic field, which is building organizations, which we call human resources operations. So you can actually be an HR executive and grow into an HR role where you are actually building the fabric of the organization, bringing in talent, keeping them excited, and then making sure they are motivated to deliver and empowering them to do great things. If you're a research type of person, you can actually go deep into management research, become an analyst, and this could be in finance, it could be in market research, it could be a financial analyst. So there are a whole host of components which will drive you. But that's if you are in your depth, you want to be an analyst, right? You love going deep into management and research oriented. The other professions you can go after is marketing and business development, where you go out into the world, create products, bring them to market. And of course, business development is convert them into sales. And that's what is the most rewarded career in management if you're in marketing and business development, because it's also the toughest. Creating products and taking them to market and converting them into dollars and rupees is what most CEOs have the knack of, and that's why they get that job, right? So you can do opportunities with that. You might be one person who's saying, you know what, I want to do, let's say I want to work for International Monetary Fund, or I want to work with United Nations. So that also a global program equips you, and then you can go and do psychology honors, or you can do economic honors and go into those areas. Then you might say, you know what, I love consulting, which is another opportunity available. So I'd like to work for, Bain and Company, or McKinsey, or Ernst & Young, or Deloitte, or Accenture. There's a whole host of PwC. They're all consulting firms where you actually consult with CEOs and tell them how you can reform your businesses, right? So that's the other area which you can do. If you want to get into finance, which was a career I pursued, which is banking and financial services, there's a whole host of opportunities there, whether you want to be in banking. Banking itself has wholesale banking, personal banking, business financial services, investment banking, corporate banking. So there's a whole host. Then you can get into allied services like wealth management, where banks have become huge, or you can get into edtech, right? Fintech, financial technologies. So there's a whole host. Or you want to get into the treasury function, which I was part of. So you want to trade bond markets, stock markets, currency markets, commodity markets. You can do a whole host of things in the banking and finance world. If finance interests you, that's another option. Public relations is another huge opportunity. Of course, all companies these days, their PR is working full time to, one is to take a positive. So it's a function of marketing, but it's where you create content which does wow, and newspapers. So I work for the largest media company in the world, Reuters. So, you create content and then you put it out into media, and then journalism also is a function of that. So business journalism and PR, could be two sides of the coin. One is the side which supports the companies. The other is core, just doing research on companies and bringing it out into financial newspapers like the Economic Times, the Mint, the Business Standard, and so on. Then you have an opportunity to go into hardcore digital world, which is digital marketing and advertising. So this is what you will be working on platforms like Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Quora, all of these platforms where you would be actually, there are so many aspects, whether it's search engine optimization, social media marketing. You got to go into the depth of the technology side and also keep a marketing mindset. So those who love technology can go into this area along with marketing, right? Then you want to go into management, which is, all of these have management, but strategy is one of my roles I had. I was global head of strategy. So this is about foreseeing the future, creating the strategic plan for your company, creating the pathway for the future for your company, right? So that's where, if you would like to be the guy who's, thinking about where I can take the business. All entrepreneurs are in-depth strategists, because finally they are trying to find a space in the marketplace to be able to create value. Business law is another area which you could diversify. After doing your undergraduate, you can, in business, you can say, I want to do a law course, and then combine them. And that's a lethal combination, because these days, nothing, no contracts, no businesses happen, no joint ventures happen, no mergers and acquisitions without a legal mind involved, because there's so many aspects to look at. So this is just a laundry list. It's much more. There's a whole aspect of, where we are calling it STEM infused business education, where business analytics come in. So we teach artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, business analytics, predictive modeling. All of this is now going to be a function of all these fields. So you could become, a SAP consultant, and if you're interested, and work with business, right? So every business is employing technology. So those are some of the things that you can do, and there are many more. This is the big. I would say this would cover 85, 90%. I'm sure there are smaller streams. These days, there's micro specialization, so you could go for that. So that was my thing. And just to end it, sorry, I wanted to take you. How do you get there, right? You want to be, you need to provide skills. These days, companies only hire. They used to earlier hire for knowledge, skills, and attitude. Now, knowledge, they're saying we'll fix it. Every industry has specific knowledge. We'll train you. Skills is where the game has shifted. And attitude, of course, without a good attitude, you cannot survive. So skills is where. So everything that we do, we are saying, how can you build skills like self-accountability, agility, and adaptability? How do you solve conflicts? How do you build multiple scenarios? How do you become a customer-oriented person? How do you collaborate and be a leader and get teamwork done? How do you go with empathy, right? EQ was important. Now it's a heart quotient. Where is your heart in, right? Do you have an analytical mind? Are you a good negotiator? Can you embrace change? Are you looking for constant self-improvement, right? Are you a problem solver? Do you think with an entrepreneurial mind? So all these skill set is what we have, mapped out, that we need to do certain activities which will bring these skill sets. And that's how you join our legacy of global leaders in the best companies around the world. So I'm going to end. There were too much I thought I was covering. So I'm going to stop share, and any questions you'd like, let's have it. I think the one question sitting there, which Yash has asked, so let me address that. Would you like to be a CA or an M? Which is better? See, both are fantastic fields, right? Let's not get this wrong. A CA is a guy who loves numbers, but likes to build. Okay, now remember what I'm saying. Likes to build the balance sheet. CA basically ensures that the balance sheet of a company is built. He actually builds it. MBA, so I'm not a CA, I'm an MBA. I read the balance sheet and I interpret it. And I literally make decisions on it. But I don't build it. I'm not a CA. Only CAs, because CA has a lot to do with the laws, the income tax laws of the country. They build the balance sheet. It's like saying, do you want to be an engineer to build the car, or do you want to be the driver who drives the car? Now, some people like to do both. Therefore, they do an engineer and an MBA, right? They do a CA and an MBA, many combinations. They not only want to build the balance sheet, they want to write the balance sheet. I was never interested in building. I was always interested in writing. So I'm an MBA. I hope that understood that. Yes. Is SAP course good? Absolutely. It's a tech course. So tech courses are going to be in future very, very relevant. So if you like technology, becoming a SAP consultant is a very, very thrilling career.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your enriching guidance, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, our students have got, one of our students, Titi, has got 2 questions. That is, first is, sir, what motivates you? And who are your ideals? Okay. So I'll start with the second one, which is also in a way motivation. So I've read a lot of books, autobiographies. So Elon Musk is right up there at the top. Then you have Jack Ma of Alibaba. Elon Musk, as you know, is the founder of Tesla and SpaceX. Jack Ma has built Alibaba. And you have Phil Knight, who's built Nike.
Then you have Kim Woo Chong, who's built the Korean giant. I'm forgetting the name. Every street is paved with gold. Samsung. Then you have, you know, even elephants can dance by the IBM guy. So what I'm trying to say is all of these autobiographies and what amazing global companies of reputation they have built and how they've gone about that. That's my motivation, and that's how I keep myself. That's what inspires me, right? I keep reading these books, and they become so. You know, whether you like it or not, when you read these books, you will, a part of Elon Musk will come into you, a part of Jack Ma will come into you, a part of Steve Jobs of Apple will come into you, and that's when you will start thinking like these global business giants, and that's how you will progress your career. So they motivate me, and my biggest motivation today, of course, is to create CEOs. And I really enjoy working with kids. I've had an incredible career. You know, at 32 years, I was global CEO. So I've learned a lot, having worked all over the world. Now my joy is to create CEOs and build young leaders.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we learned a lot from you today. First of all, how to convert the challenges into opportunities, sir. Really, we learned a lot from that. And also, we have got a lot of our questions answered. Like, sir, we wanted to know, you have actually guided us that how to convert our idea into business, actually. Sometimes we have the idea, but we do not know how to convert it. Really, sir, it was so enriching from your side. And sir, not only that, you went further even to guide us that how can we get the funding also. That is also many times we see, because sir, I teach commerce in the school for many years. So I've seen students, you know, they are very bright and all, but finally when it comes to funding, they cannot somehow manage and all. You have really given a very, very enriching guidance on that. Sir, as a teacher, I want to ask you a very basic question. It's a very grassroots question. Sir, actually, if a student has thought of going into entrepreneurship line, sir, what skills we should start developing from the very beginning, right from the 11th class or 12th class? What can we do for them so that we can develop some skills in them, sir?
So, you know, the biggest difference, I would say, for an entrepreneur is to be curious, right?
Okay.
How you can excite my curiosity, which is where, how does an idea come through? An idea comes when two fields clash together, right? So
Yes.
when someone in technology meets someone in science, and then they come out, oh, this could be possible. So I would say, if you're fascinated about a new field, read about it, build your curiosity, and when you go into depth, you will automatically, ideas will start coming. It's like pixie dust. It will come on its own. You don't have to do it. So build your curiosity, very important. Secondly, there's a lot of discipline required being an entrepreneur. So, you know, you need to be able to put stuff down. So writing, you know, skills is a basic requirement. I know in today's digital world, people like to write less, but I think a solid foundational business can only be meant if you are, you know, able to put your ideas down. Then it's your risk muscle. I always say, the riskier type of mentality you possess, the bigger the business you can do. If you're a play safe person, it's going to be tougher for you to create a business, because businesses are, when you create businesses, you typically don't know 30% or more, sometimes even 40%. And so you take that leap of faith. And therefore, failure is very, very crucial. You cannot create any business if you're not willing to take failure. Simple, right? I've made a million mistakes in my life. I've made a million failures. And that's why I'm standing today in front of you. So absolutely be prepared to fail and say, okay, great, I've learned something, right? Don't make the same mistake again. But you have to be able to, if you're too emotional and say, you know what, oh my God, I failed, the end of the world. No. Businessmen go through a million failures before they get it right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yash, you want to ask a question? Yash? Yash, I think you raised your hand. You want to ask a question? Yash, beta? Okay, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Tarun, Anand sir. That was really a very informative session. And thank you, Samishta ma'am, for resolving all the queries of our Little Florians. We hope that all of you liked today's session. But wait, our meeting is not over. We are going to meet tomorrow as well. Same venue at 9 a.m. Those who have missed any session, don't worry. You can access the whole session on the YouTube link that's provided on the school app.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you have touched a really important topic because I think most of the people in India now are looking forward for the international career options, and they don't know how to opt it and how to go there. So that was a really informative session from your side, and we hope that our students will get fruitful result out of it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. All the best. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So now, a student of 11th standard, you will be having a psychometric assessment at 3:30. So I hope you all are ready for that. And after that, there will be a counseling session. And the link is shared from the school site. You need to register on that link for coming counseling sessions. So don't forget to register yourself, especially for 11th class students. Akansha ma'am, you want to share anything?